Good day, everyone. Welcome to episode 7 of Going Places. What's going to happen when we get past 10? I don't know. Stay tuned to find out. I'll find out too in a few more episodes. Today, I'm really excited because I get to take you to one of my favorite places, which is down south. Let's go to Mount Erebus. Pacifica told us about it and took us to Antarctica on episode 5, but we didn't get to see Mount Erebus. So let's go there. And so we're going to start like usual on Google Earth. We're starting in the US since that's where I am, but we are going to fly right across the Pacific Ocean, stop over in Christchurch, New Zealand to get our gear, and then go down to Ross Island, which is where the US has its largest research station, McMurdo Station. We're going to stop over in McMurdo Station and fly up via helicopter to Mount Erebus, which is this feature right here. It is the largest feature on Ross Island. And if we zoom in, we can take a look at a couple really cool things despite the sort of dodgy imagery here. So there's this hole on top of Mount Erebus, which is the crater, and that's where we're going to go. But before we go there, let's just take a little bit of a look around and see that there's this semi-circular feature up here, up high, that is the remnants of an old caldera. So years ago, thousands of years ago, maybe 20,000 years ago, Erebus erupted big and formed this caldera. Since then, the caldera has mostly filled in with lava flows, and the active part of Erebus is now that crater, which we are about to see. But before we do, a little more suspense for you first. So this is one of my favorite views of Erebus, standing out on the sea ice, standing on water, which is always cool, and looking up at Mount Erebus. We don't actually get a feel for how big it is here, but Erebus is ginormous. It's a really big mountain. We're standing at sea level, and that crater rim up at top of Erebus is about 12,500 feet above sea level, or about 3,800 meters. So we're looking at a big mountain here. And what occurred to me the first time I had a view like this of Erebus was that there is, spoiler alert, an active lava lake up on the top of Erebus, up in that crater, which is what we're going to go see. And if there's an active lava lake up there, that means from where I'm standing, down from who knows how far beneath my feet, but all the way up above my head, there is a conduit of molten rock for 12,000 feet going up above my head. So if we were going to go straight into this mountain, we would encounter that tube or tunnel or conduit, whatever it looks like, of that molten rock, that magma. So let's fly up onto the crater. So remember how small that hole looked compared to the rest of Erebus? Well, this is that small hole. It's not tiny. It's not so small. And looking down into it, we can see two areas of steaming. So going back to that picture before, what we see coming out of volcanoes most of the time when they're not in active eruption is gases, is steam. So this is Erebus steaming. And it doesn't always tell us about how active it is just by seeing the steam, because if a day is more humid, there will be more steam because more of that water vapor is condensing. So just because it looks more active doesn't mean it's more active. It could just be a weather phenomena. So here we see these gases coming out of not one, but two lava lakes. So sometimes Erebus has more than one active lava lake. Let's see what that lava lake looks like. If we can look right down onto the surface and zoom way in, this is what the surface of the lava lake would look like. And it's moving. So here it looks like it's, just stable, but it's actually constantly in motion. And hopefully this video will work to play for you of the first time I was up there. And hopefully you could hear Nelia get excited about the bubble. That was one of the people who I was up there with, who's been working on this volcano for forever. Let's watch that again, in case you didn't see it. There was a bubble, and then here, it's a little easier to see one, that bubble popping of lava. And so the season that I was mainly working on Erebus was 2002 to 2003, and it was bubbling like that, which was really cool, and also indicated that gases were able to escape. So these bubbles were able to constantly not constantly, but frequently come out and release the gases. There are other years that the activity is a little bit different. So there are other years where that gas gets stuck and accumulates somewhere in this conduit down deeper into the volcano. And as those gases accumulate, eventually they're going to escape, and they escape all at once and form an explosion and throw this lava out of the lava lake, and they're powerful enough to throw it out and onto that surrounding area. So imagine an explosion powerful enough to throw blobs of lava up and over these caldera edges. So this is what one of those bombs might look like. So they're called bombs, these blobs of lava that fly through the air. They cool as they fly through the air and land. And a lot of times they crunch when they land because now they're frozen, they're rock, they're no longer molten lava. And this may look like solid rock, but it's actually really soft. Let's take a little bit closer of a view. So we can see that close to the edge, if you can look at close to the edge there on the right, the rock's a little bit more solid, fewer holes or gas bubbles. And then the farther in from the side we get, the bigger these bubbles are. And those are actual gas bubbles from when this was flying through the air and cooled as it was flying through the air. So as it was flying through, it was expanding. And once we get towards the center of this, we see this really cool, stringy, cobwebby looking stuff. And that's from those gas bubbles expanding as it's flying through the air and freezing or solidifying. And one other thing I want to point out here, which is really neat and somewhat unique to Erebus, is that hopefully you can see some of these elongate forms. So there's one that I'm pointing to over on the left-hand side. And then if we go over and if you look on the ground next to this bomb, you can see some elongate shapes. I'm going to show you in real life what that is. So those elongate shapes are Erebus crystals. So these are crystals that form in the lava, in that conduit and in the lava lake as the lava is hanging out and the chemistry is right and the temperature is right for these crystals to not only form but get really big. So this is Feldspar crystal, and there are only a couple places on Earth where these crystals can get this big like this. One is Erebus, another is Mount Kenya in Africa. So I encourage you to go learn lots more about Mount Erebus because it is a fascinating place. It is the southernmost currently active volcano, one of the only places in the world with a lava lake, and just a lovely contrast between one of the coldest places in the world and the hottest rock in the world. Thanks for joining me. I'm hoping you're all doing well. See you next time.